We are making a wild ferment. We're not going to be adding any culture. We're not going to be inoculating in any way. We're using the bacteria that are already present on everything and everyone, and simply creating an environment that will allow them to thrive. My name's Moon, and I am going to teach you about a very basic, simple, living raw sauerkraut. We need very simple ingredients and very simple accessories like a chopping board and a knife, scales, bowl, a jar, and some various fruit and veg, not fruit, just veg, and some salt. And that's it. And we're just going to make something very simple that will give you tons of probiotics and all the nutrients in a raw living sauerkraut. Okay, first thing you need is a cabbage. And I'm going to chop the cabbage. We're going to take the stalk out. Get rid of this stalk. But keep that to one side because we will be using that later. And then the size of the chop will mean the bigger the chop, the crunchier the kraut. So you can do a bit of a variation. Sometimes you can go up to kind of big size, or you can go all the way down to really small. So we're just going to chop, chop, chop. I like to have quite a variant in my kraut. So I'll do some really big pieces and then some really little pieces. Okay, and then we're going to weigh our chopped cabbage. And hopefully we will have, exactly 1 pound. No, sorry, half a pound. Half a pound of veg. And then we need to add 1 teaspoon of really good sea salt. This has to be very good salt. It has to be sea or rock salt or pink Himalayan salt, not table salt. We need real salt. Okay. And then at this stage, we just want to massage the cabbage and the salt together. And what we want to start seeing is some liquid. You can see the cabbage is starting to get wet, and that's because the salt is pulling out the juices. So we're creating a brine. Just from the juices of the cabbage, we're not going to add any water, just going to create a brine from the cabbage. So I'm going to add a bit of pak choy because I currently have some. You can use pretty much any vegetable at all that you have available. It's a really great seasonal thing to do. And again, I'm just going to roughly chop. So this is going to add some real crunch to the mix. And a lovely, sort of slightly Asian taste. Okay, I'm just going to make sure I've got enough. So it's 2 teaspoons of salt to a pound of veg, and that's pretty basic rule. You can be quite fluid with that, but it has some importance. So that I need even more, so I'm going to do some more pak choy. So I got into fermenting because, well, for a few reasons. I was really into preserving food, eating seasonally and eating whole foods. But I hated the amount of sugar and vinegar and cooking there was and all the preservation techniques out there. So I got into it because it was such a simple process. And as a byproduct of that, I learned about the health benefits, and they are just, amazing. They've really supported me feeling really good. And we are essentially 1 to 10 parts human to bacteria, and we're only just finding out about this. The microbiome, Google microbiome. There's so much information out there coming out now, and the more we can support our own biodiversity in our bodies, the healthier we can become. So this is what we're doing. We're creating a living food that is full of probiotics and full of good bacteria that can support our body in doing all the services and all the functions that it needs to do. So what we're doing is we're creating an environment that is best for lactic acid bacteria. This is the stuff that will make the food living. It will give it all the probiotics, and it's essentially pre-digesting the food. So the basic nutrients and vitamins that are in this raw, incredible organic vegetable is going to be more available to your body, having gone through this process. Fermenting is extremely safe. There's absolutely no recorded case of kind of botulism or any of the sort of more scary things that to do with preserving. Because we are nurturing really friendly bacteria, which means that they overcome any bad bacteria. So at this point, all I've got is a recycled jar, well, a reused jar that I've used many, many times. I've just sterilised it with some very hot water, and I'm just going to be really packing in this amazingly simple mixture, and you'll start to see the liquid rising from underneath. You can see that, and that is all just from the cabbage. We haven't added anything. We're just using a technique called dry salting. There's no vinegar, there's no brine, there's nothing at all. It's just a saline and anaerobic environment, which is what this lactic acid bacteria absolutely love and absolutely thrive in. And as you can see, that cabbage and those 2 pak choy that I cut down really condense because we're pushing all of the air out. So to fill the jar up, it looks like I'm going to have to chop some more. So we only had a half full jar, so I've made a load more mess and created a load more chopped veg, and we're going to really quickly just revisit how to weigh that out. So we're doing 2 teaspoons per pound of veg. So you take a pound of veg, and in this case I'm doing it half a pound at a time. So that's 1 teaspoon. So that is a pound of cabbage, and we're doing 2 teaspoons of salt. And you can play around with that, the more you get to know this process. So perhaps in the summer you might need more salt. It's very warm, temperature has a big effect. You might need a bit more salt. The salt actually acts as an inhibitor of the growth of the bacteria. So we are creating that perfect balance where actually all the bacteria that we want can survive, but not over survive and become mouldy. So I'm just going to pop this in the jar. Now it's got a bit wet. And you can see that liquid rising. You can really see that brine rising above the liquid, above the veg, as we really pummel that in. And I've got 2 lovely layers now, 1 pak choy layer and 1 just some summer cabbage layer. And that is very basics of fermenting. And the next stage is a few weeks long. It's going to be taking care of your kraut. So keeping this submerged, keeping the brine above the veg that you're going to want to eat. And temperature is very important. So you need to be keeping this kraut initially at room temperature, so no more than kind of 21 degrees centigrade. Otherwise it can spoil. Okay, so once you've got your jar nice and full, and you can see that liquid rising. What we need to do is actually add a layer of those stalks that you put aside at the beginning. And this is going to keep the vegetables that we want to eat underneath the brine. And it's going to create a layer of veg that we don't really care about eating that keeps it all packed down. And what that's going to do is when we've put our lid on, you can see there's a slight bit of pressure, and it's just going to bring that brine up. There's going to be more brine as the time, in about 24 hours, this brine level will have risen. The salt will have completely dissolved, and this brine level will be up above the veg that we've chopped, keeping it in a saline, anaerobic environment where the lactic acid will thrive. And in 3 to 5 days, this will be living. You can see it start to bubble, the colour will start to change, and you need to just really keep an eye on that level of brine. If the chopped cabbage is submerged in brine, you're good. If it starts to look a little bit dry, just add a little bit of unchlorinated water just to keep that level of the brine up above the cabbage, above the chopped cabbage. Day 5, start tasting it. See if it's yummy, see if you like it, see if it's crunchy, see if it's tangy, see if it's got some sourness. And at that point you can then put it in the fridge and it will last for weeks, and you can eat it with everything. Eggs, cheese on toast, soup, baked potatoes, have it with everything. That's it. Okay, so today we've done a really simple cabbage sauerkraut, and that is a very good place to start. But as you get more confidence, you can do all sorts of things. And I've got loads of different tasters and testers here. Beautiful, very simple runner bean, just chopped roughly with garlic and dill. Dill's my favourite herb of choice because it reminds me of gherkins, which I'm obsessed with. This one has got about 15 different ingredients. It's very hot. It's got chilli, it's got garlic, it's got turmeric, it's got dried mushrooms, it's got all sorts of things. But the base is a cabbage base. This is radishes that have just been roughly chopped with garlic and chilli. We've got whole beans, that's a brining technique. These are all dry salted. This is what I've been teaching you today, dry salting. And that's another cabbage base with turmeric and runner beans. Exactly the same way, so just getting the veg, chopping it up, adding 2 teaspoons of salt per pound of veg, massaging that veg, packing it into a jar so that it's submerged under brine, leaving it for a couple of days, seeing it living and starting to taste it after a few days. And these have all been made in this way.